Good morning, Mr. Sungrand.
Oh, hi there, Bojo. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're here.
What are you doing there?
Me, I'm developing a video game.
Wow, I want to make games too.
Well, you can learn. It just takes hard work and effort. By the way, Bojo, could you please hand me my coffee over there?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sungrand. That'd be difficult for me to do.
That's okay. Thanks anyway, Bojo.
Yeah, logistically, I don't even know if I can pick up an object and hand it to you physically.
That's all right. I'm not sure how I would do that either.
So, can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
There's a game called Borderlands 4, and people have reported on PC it has major performance problems. The longer you play it, the worse it gets.
That's a real shame.
Yeah, can you tell me why that happens?
Well, Bojo, video games are complicated. Like friendship or marriage, if you are careless and don't pay attention to how you manage things, they get worse and worse until over time it all eventually comes to a sad ending with a terrible crash.
Oh, that's scary.
And this brings me to today's letter. Today's show is brought to you by the letter P. P is for pooling. Can you say pooling?
Pooling. Pooling. What a fun word.
P for pooling.
Yeah.
In video games, when we want to show something happening on the screen, we have to use a prop called an object. An object is an abstract construct that is not the actual thing it represents, but merely possesses physical traits that allow people to recognize the abstract object as representing something that does actually exist.
Mr. Sungrand, am I an object? Am I an abstract construct?
So back to pooling. In video games, we need to show the player something, so we use objects. If we create an explosion, characters, pick up items, graphics, or anything, we use an object. Now, usually after we create an object, we must eventually destroy the object. The process of creating and destroying objects results in some reduction of gameplay performance, meaning the frame rate decreases. Creation and destruction in some cases can also eventually lead to memory leakage, or far worse, memory fragmentation. The more you create and destroy objects, whether those entities be visible in the game or objects in the game code, leakage and fragmentation can build up over time and get worse. This brings us back to today's word, pooling. With object pooling, we create all the objects we need when the game scene is started. Those objects are disabled or hidden from view and are only enabled when they are needed. This prevents memory leakage and memory fragmentation and keeps gameplay flowing nice and smooth.
Wow, there's a lot of really cool words in there. Can we learn about all those other words too?
Sure we can, Bojo, but we'll have to wait until the letter of the day lands on those words.
Oh, okay.
Now, alongside those performance issues that can cause a decrease in the frame rate, we can also have an issue called null references. This results in all kinds of major problems for a gameplay session and can cause gameplay performance to really drop. This happens if the game tries to reference an object that is suddenly not there when you expect it to be.
Whoa, kind of like trying to reference your wife when she's no longer there when you expect her to be.
Yeah, you're right, Bojo. Somewhat.
So, what exactly is a null?
Well, Bojo, I can show you what null looks like. Null is that I think is interesting. I'm extremely busy with my game development work right now, so I have less time to create these videos, but I want to keep making videos for you guys. I know you guys enjoy these, and it's just a chill vibe to relax to at some point during the day. So there's something you'll notice with many games now. This seems to be a new sort of standard when it comes to anime looking games, and that is this sort of anime stylized, almost Studio Ghibli kind of colors to it, this pastel look, the way that the colors are expressed. Now, in the past, we would have called this a cell shader, but that's not exactly what this is. This is significantly more advanced. It's what is more accurately described as a ramp shader, because as developers, we can define a ramp, and that means that we can have more control over how the lights and shadows are expressed, and we can define that via a ramp. We can have much more control and tight control over that, but we can also have things like rim lighting. We can also have reflections, bump mapping, MIP mapping. So this is significantly more advanced. We can, these sort of things like the gradients that we have here in the colors, you know, this is actually a little bit more impressive than I thought it was, just taking a look at it right now, because not only do we have this sort of ramp shader here where we have this hard cutoff on the highlights on the rim light here, which I'm just realizing now is really beautifully lit. This scene is beautifully lit. First of all, the ambient lighting is very low, and the strongest light source comes from this egg. We have a secondary light source through this item here and through the candles, and the candles are actually lighting the robes. So we see the soft gradient on the robes here. We have a very, very soft fill light on the right here, a harsh highlight on the left here, and then an easy gradient. Okay, holy shit. Sorry, I'm just a little bit shocked. This looks way nicer than I expected. And this is fascinating. Wow. I was not expecting, this is interesting. Because if you look at something like, I don't want to bring up other games and compare this to other games that could look this good and don't, so I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be here to be a negative Nancy. Jeez. Oh wow. Well, it's really easy to miss, but this looks really fantastic. So I'm okay. Sorry, I'm just wondering what they did to achieve that effect, because that's really, really fantastic. See, this is okay. Wow, this is actually much more impressive than I realized. Sorry, I'm hanging up on this, but I'm impressed. Okay, it's difficult to explain, because generally when you have a ramp shader, you say this part is dark, this part is light, and then you have one harsh light. But we also have a gradient along. Oh, okay. I think I know how to achieve this effect. I'm going to experiment a little bit later on when I'm done with the video. It's very pleasant. I'm just going to say, okay, look at a game like, look at Pokemon Legends Z, and I'm not picking on it. I'm not saying anything negative. It could look interesting like this in terms of lighting, but it does not. If you have a look at the lighting for Pokemon Legends ZA for the characters, it's very flat, and then you have something dynamic like this where the characters respond more to the environmental lighting. This just looks so great. But I don't want to get hung up on the graphics. I know I discuss the graphics at length in these videos, but that's just because that's what we get to see from these trailers. I would really prefer to talk about things like gameplay, you know. This is very Ghibli-esque here, this sort of style here with this nice bowl cut, bro. I like the use of trim here, but it's not overly ornate. If this were a Tales of design, the trim would be probably a gold or a bright yellow. This would be probably a bright yellow or a harsh white. So I do like that Monster Hunter sort of has more subdued trim on characters and things like that. Oh, this is nice. So you have this nice sort of a dark cyan or a teal capelet underneath, a tunic sort of thing, but then the trim is just a darker shade. I can really respect that as a character design. I really like the subdued color of that. It shows that there's room for growth, that this character is not strong or complicated, and that there is probably room to keep developing. The complexity, when it comes to a character design, complexity expresses power and authority. So you see that the character looks more complex now in terms of color textures, dynamic tonal contrast. The character looks more powerful in this scene. So that's one way in visual communication to express a sense of growth and power. You can see his bowl cut kind of billowing in the wind. Yeah, nice bowl cut. Sorry, I'm making fun of his bowl cut. I don't know why I'm so I don't know why I'm so aggressive towards bowl cuts today. I like the little glimmer there. That's very, I just want to take a look at that. Okay, no, it wasn't scripted. It's just part of the it's reacting to actual environmental lighting. Okay, but it cuts away really quick. You have gee, the lighting is, oh wow, the lighting is really nice. Take a look at the volumetric lighting here. See how the mountains ease into the distance here. The mountains get a little higher depending on the angle that it is reflecting towards the sky. We have the clouds casting shadows on the tops there. And again, I'm not saying anything about Pokemon Legends ZA, but have a look at these mountains here and compare them to the mountains we see in Legends ZA. And while it's pretty good during the daytime for Legends ZA and pretty good during sunset time, at nighttime it looks pretty bad. But Legends ZA is not using true volumetric lighting, it's using distance fog. This is true volumetric lighting, and oh boy, does this look nice. It just eases naturally into the color of the sky, which is how atmospheric haze works in real life. I love hiking and just staring off into the distance and looking at the landscape. These are really fantastic designs, and I really like the use of normal mapping here. So see these bumps here, these are not part of the character model. They're part of the material, and the aspect that defines this bumpiness is called a normal map. And we have two things working on here. We have a specular map and a normal map. The normal map defines the bumpiness. So because we have the normal map, it allows us to express a sense of detail here without having to create that in modeling. In modeling, that would be excruciatingly painful to create this in 3D, and in normal mapping, very, very easy to create. Also, we can define that this part is a bit more shiny, as is this here. So gauntlets are nice and shiny as well. And again, we have a nice reserved use of trim here on the gauntlet, but it's not a different color. It's nice and reserved. It's not overly distracting. I do like that aspect of Monster Hunter, that they're a bit more, they're not trying too hard to make things obnoxiously detailed and flashy, and it's reserved in the most positive way. To me, this is a mark of extremely competent, well, these are master class character designers and artists. Whoever's working on this, these are master level. You can tell because they're not desperate to show off how much they can do. If we look at many other games, many other character designs, we see character designs that are just obnoxiously detailed, dense, far, far, far too much tonal contrast, and it's just a mess. You see use of colors and combination of colors that just don't go well together at all. They don't communicate what the character's all about. In this is kind of showing off how much they know as character designers, as visual artists, and they're showing they're not desperate to just shove in as much detail as possible. That was sick. What is this little guy? Okay, I like that. I played a little bit of Monster Hunter Stories on the 3DS, and I watched a playthrough Stories 2 on Switch, so I was a backseat gamer for Stories 2, and I watched through the whole thing with a friend. What is this little guy? I'm sorry I'm caught up on this, but I really like that. Yeah, that's cool. I like him. Now, I want to watch his wings extend. What happened? It seems to come out of nowhere. Oh, okay. The wings here are a different part of the model, I think. I think these wings don't actually they don't actually animate. They don't actually extend from the character's body, from the model. This is a different part of the 3D model that is disabled during its normal form when it's on the ground. And so those wings don't actually exist. What we see when it is in flying mode is another part of the body that is disabled in the game. It's hidden, so you don't see it, and then it is enabled when he's flying. So it's not actually animated and stretching out of his body. That would be a nightmare. I'm having like anxiety as a 3D modeler, thinking about how I would have to implement that if that was part of his body all the time. That would be a nightmare, because then you have to animate all of that, and it's going to be an absolute visual mess. So this is a very smart way to do it, is to have it be a different different geometry that is disabled during its ground movement and then enabled, objects enabled and turned visible. I really like that. Great approach. Okay, this is just very... Oh, excuse me? Signal much? That was rude. That was very, very rude. I don't like that at all. That's rude. I really like, though, that he reacts there. Really fantastic. This is fantastic. The mountains here have a very, like, a Swedish European look to them, but they do have a little bit of an unpolished look to them, particularly here. These look like they just came out of a terrain generator, because they're a bit harsh and sharp, whereas everything else looks quite natural. But this looks like it just came out of a terrain generator. I'm not criticizing, I'm just sharing my thoughts on that. I really, really appreciate the naturalistic way that the grassy parts of the terrain are distributed. This feels quite natural. This is okay. This is actually more impressive than it seems as well, because it takes so much time to create all of that. There are many procedural generators that will help you do this and save you a lot of time, but things always look better when they're crafted by hand, and you will find that people are sick of empty open worlds, and people who rely on procedural generators to do all the work for them end up with worlds that are entirely devoid and empty, because when you let a machine do all the work for you, you do not improve as an artist, and you do not impart any thought. If you aren't thinking about anything, it's going to be very boring. And that's why there's so many empty open world games. If this is populated by hand, I guarantee there's going to be interesting stuff to do and see and find in there. We can see at distance here, these trees are billboards. They are using a level of detail system, so they don't have to render the full quality version of the trees. It's not a 3D model right now. That's just a cardboard cutout. We can see those. In general, they tend to look a bit simpler. In my games, I still use somewhat high-resolution normal mapping so that it looks like the trees have data in them in terms of lighting and shadows, so they're a little more interesting. These look very flat. I'm just going to zoom in on that. Yeah, they look quite flat, and they on your billboards for your level of detail, you can have normal maps and specular data, so you can still make them visually pop in terms of the highlights and shadows. They could still do that. I mean, it's not a big deal. It doesn't really matter, you know. It's just a matter of how you want it to look. I really like these streams. Do those help you jump up into the air if you're in the water? Or okay, let's take it. There's a little piggy with goggles. What is this, a Digimon protagonist? Am I right? This guy. What is this guy? I like this guy. He's cool. Yeah, in terms of Monster Hunter, I really prefer the stories games to the main series, because these things are so cool that I don't want to just kill them. I want them to be my friends and have them in a party with me. So I kind of prefer the stories games. But again, I don't have a ton of time because I'm so busy with my game development. Yeah, this is populated quite nicely here. I really like this sort of, it's not exactly winter grass, but it's sort of a dull, a very dull, not quite green grass that really, it's kind of bluish, and it really highlights and the terrain in an interesting way, and it breaks up the visual line. So if we didn't have this little grass here, oh, this is great color choice, I'm just realizing. If we didn't have that grass there, it would be quite bland, and I have a design philosophy I refer to as breaking the line. Visually, it's just a straight line is the most boring thing in the world. If we didn't have that grass there, we would have the line between the dark color of the terrain and the light. And it would be so very dull, but you can see the grass breaks that up just nicely. It breaks the border between the dark area and the light. It intersects the two. We have are those particle effects, or is that volumetric? I don't get a close enough look. just going to give a guess. I'm going to say in this particular environment, I think those are actually low-lying particle effects, even though there is true volumetric lighting here. You can combine the two, see as those are particle effects coming out there. Hold on. When he hits the ground, you'll see when he hits the ground. Yeah, those are particle effects. You know, that's not volumetric lighting, but you use the two. You wouldn't use one over the other if you could help it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure those are particle effects, those fog distance in the background. I love this bright stuff. It's sick. So cool. Oh, that's a really, really neat. I like that zoom in effect. It makes me feel like I've taken a Skylander off a portal and then I've put another Skylander on. I really like the streak lines. Look at the harshness of these lines here for the radial blur. This is a form of radial blur. The farther you get from the center, the more it blurs, but this is motion radial blur. And it is nice and sharp. Ooh, wow, yeah. Yeah, I like that. That is pretty cool. Okay. Chain physics, that's a lot of chain physics to develop, to work on. Is this bowl cut but older? Is this older bowl cut? I don't know the story of this, but I have a feeling this is older bowl cut because these are the same clothes that bowl cut was wearing. It must be. So I think there's a time skip at some point. Cool. Cool. I like that. I think this is bowl cut. Same eye color. He's got the little badge there. He's got his armor thing. Yeah. Yeah, this is really cool. This really looks fantastic. I'm very impressed with this. Let's see what systems it's going to come out for. Oh, a little bit more. Oh, I like that shot. What a cool shot. Yeah, that is great. Great cinematography and directing here. Check that out. So this lightning, it illuminates the volumetric fog. That is fantastic. That's not something you can really achieve with particle effects alone. The way that the lightning emits light and it does illuminate the volumetric fog, really fantastic. And then it breaks up that single tone here, and you can see the silhouette of geometry here. So we have multiple planes here. We have the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. Oh, that is so cool. And then after that, there's a little bit more light that comes through. Then you can see the middle ground here. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. This is directed so well. Let's see. Steam, let's see. Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch 2. Fantastic. This looks great. Okay, good. This isn't coming out soon. I don't want this to come out soon because there's other games. I have to play Digimon Legend ZA's coming up. I'm glad this is not coming out this year. Okay, I hope you enjoyed my my analysis and walkthrough of this. Okay, I really have to get to work. I just want to take a steaming hot bath for a while, relax, and then get